Hello, everyone. Welcome back for some more. Let's read Higurashi. Um, Last time we kind of had a Joker moment. We are officially in the I will kill someone mode, which, despite me kind of saying that this whole time and coming up with different ways how we can kill him this whole time, now that we've actually reached that point, I'm I'm a little scared because I don't know at what cost. Like, my plans were ones that all were kind of pulled back, but I don't know about him. So let's see what Keiichi gets up to in his super mega kill the evil uncle plan. Mion and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. Are we just chilling at home? The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. Why is there chain rattling? The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get back our peaceful days. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world, and don't get me started on the incarceration rate. I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. I've read a lot of articles on trials with people brought up on false charges. At court, they consider whether the charges are false or not, but figuring out the real criminal is entirely out of scope. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. You just had to look at the in inundation? Oh, that's a word. Inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult to solve incidents involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes, perfect crimes were the skills of the gods, and in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling the curse of Oyashiro-sama, I understood. They must have been the works of gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods. Those are perfect crimes. And I would be setting up my own crime before Oyashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame, but be as systematic as ice. Starting now, I need to retain both of those ideas within me. Are we turning into Gil from Street Fighter 3? Are we gonna get beat up and then go resurrection and then have full meter and, seraphic wing? Hell yeah. Modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes kidnappings involve disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper. Sometimes kidnappings involving disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as a basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night, for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Not to be confused with autistic crimes, that's different. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels stacked all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was, well, my mom. Oh yeah, just do what I do and go talk to your mom about, hey mom, if you had to kill someone, what could you do to do it perfectly. And I've told this story before about how my mom says the best way to kill someone without anyone realizing it is to kill them, chop up the body, throw them into a snowbank that's going to be picked up by a snow grader, because those little chunks of body when they get picked up by the snow shovel, like, you know, the big snow grader that comes by, one, they'll be scattered all across the road, or the little bits that get picked up and shoveled away, they won't know till the summer, and honestly, the salt in there is going to break it all down, right? The salt and snow and the summer thaw, right? The spring thaw, it's over. So, yeah. Is this where I also say my mom used to work on the police force? And she also worked with forensics, so that's probably why she knows that. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her.
これまでの推理小説の中で母さんが一番よくできたと思った完全犯罪？
Oh my god, we're just asking her. I'm so happy.
母さんって結構たくさん推理小説を読んでるでしょ。そういうの詳しいかなって思って。
それを読むから楽しいのよ。初めからトリックを教えちゃったら楽しみがなくなっちゃうわ。
Bro's asking just like he's basically wiki diving before wiki diving was a thing. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow butter her up first and draw out an answer.
そうね。よくできた推理小説。結構どれもこれもいろんな魅力があって、どれが面白かったとは言いにくいけど、強いてあげれば。
母さんの好きな小説のタイトルが知りたいんじゃないよ。母さんが一番舌を巻いた完全トリックが知りたいんだよ。
本当に完全なトリックだったら名探偵に解く余地がないじゃない。
That was true. And there'd be no point.
推理小説は解ける謎をいかに解くかの過程を楽しむものよ。
What, have you read anywhere they don't want it solved?
解けない謎だったらそれは推理小説の題材になり得ないわね。
そっか、そりゃそうだよな。主人公に解けなかったらお話として成立しないもんな。
Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. They were written so you could get to the goals, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives.
ということは、ケイチ、真の完全犯罪は物語にすらならないというのがわかるかしら？
Mom looked at me intellectually, and grinned impishly. Oh, does Mom have her secret stack of perfect crimes? I'd never gotten to read it. Oh! Oh, shoot! But apparently one time, a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently, she was really into it.
物語にならないってどういう意味？
ケイチ、物語の最低構成要素は？
起承転結。
Oh, wow. That's a very short phrase in Japanese.
正解。特に肝心なのは当たり前だけど、木に当たる部分よ。スタートの木がなかったら、そもそも物語は始まらない。
そりゃそうだよ。何も起こらなかったら何も始まらない。
そう。何も起こらないから事件にもならない。探偵も呼ばれないから推理もない。推理がないなら解決もない。つまり、これが究極の完全犯罪。
ちょっと待って。もう一度説明してくれるかな？
I don't know. I feel like it's pretty obvious. Because it won't get into a novel if no one ever discovers it. My mom just told me something absurd. And she was saying it so smoothly too, so I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important just now.
そんな難しい話じゃないわよ。そもそも事件が発覚しなければいいだけの話。
そもそも発覚しない事件。
つまり、例えばよ、誰も立ち入らない深い森の奥でおじいさんが一人暮らしをしているとする。そのおじいさんがある日斧で殺されました。ちなみに犯人はじゃあおじいさんの息子ね。おじいさんの家に来て一緒にお酒を飲んでいたんだけど、ちょっと喧嘩になって殺してしまった。
What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect crime.
でもケイイチ、そこはとてもとても深い森の中の一軒家なの。普段は絶対に誰も訪れない深い山奥の深い深い森の中。
It's a good line read.
さて、殺した息子は町に帰ってきてこう言うの。おじいさんは元気だったって。
Yeah, right?
それのどこが完全犯罪なの？
ケイイチ、この事件はね、おじいさんが殺されているのが見つかって初めて木を迎えるのよ。
If he's up in the mountains and there's no such thing as welfare checks, no one will check in.
もしもこの後、
Yeah.
誰もおじいさんの家を訪れなかったら、永久に木は訪れない。だからつまり、物語は始まらない。事件が発覚しないから探偵も呼ばれない。そもそも誰も不審に思わないから謎も起こらない。おじいさんは今日も一人でのんびり森の奥で暮らしているんだろうね。
So what you're saying is, no one's gonna care to check in on this guy so we can... Oh, no. No, this doesn't work. Because he does have the welfare check in the place of, the literal, social workers are coming. So that's not good that they're actually coming, huh? Like, I considered that, but I didn't fully consider it. I'm just adjusting my microphone. I'm not showing my weapon or anything. I'm just adjusting my microphone. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it.
で、お空におじいさんの顔が浮かんで、ジエンド。どう？こんな感じで。
すごいじゃないか。それちゃんとしたトリックだよ。
でも娯楽小説にはならないわね。推理小説は所詮娯楽書。完全犯罪の指南書にはなり得ないんだから。
Yeah, who would want that? I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash, None of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere in... Oh my god, are we gonna throw it into the warehouse? And dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find. It would basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of Tatarigoroshi came around, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. They would have think, rather, Rodathanka. I mean, he'd been living with a lover been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There's no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Or I'd kill him, how I'd do it, what time, and how to dispose of the corpse. I just had those 4 things. I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I've been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time. I could just get these little things in order. I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of Watanagashi. So as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I had only 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more, but please, hold out for a little longer. I know you can't last even another second. I know that. But please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside, it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon, evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point, it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Saturday. The sky was the color of lead. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. My first destination was school. Before explaining where I was going there, I needed to explain what method for killing that man I decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received. Being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable. This was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. You just needed to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. So the blades available to me, even the longest ones, were still limited to things shorter than a ruler. You probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, a weapon with more reach, like a staff, would be far more advantageous. It might not be quite as inherently lethal, but since you could just keep hitting the guy until you killed him, the end result was the same. So what's a staff-like deadly weapon, terrifyingly powerful, and also eminently portable? By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal bat can be as a weapon. Of special note is the fact you can carry one around in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would be enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. Also the fact it's literally Satoshi's weapon. Thematically, it's really good. There was one more reason. Oh, here we go. For choosing a metal bat in particular. I will speak about it later. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon, without looking suspicious, was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I need to be really careful even about that. I left school, at a location which my parents wouldn't be suspicious. I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went into the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I just realized we gotta be evil mode. That's what this face is for. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty classroom was full of a strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Well, no one was around. The desks creep about of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. I suddenly stepped into a place like that, with the desks in their surprise fly at me, crush my bones, and eat me alive.
Baka-bakashi.
Yeah, it is kind of stupid. Let's pull back a bit on the thinking, brother. I felt regret at wasting valuable time thinking on stupid delusions. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker, one I had accidentally discovered one day.
あった。北条。間違いない。
If one person has one locker, then why would only Satoko have two? I made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. One time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and I took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't even been interested, so until now, I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say it, awakened, I remembered that thing that had been there. Scrape. I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes, Satoshi was on Coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter's uniform and it. The one Satoshi used. The metal bat. Yes, this was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me. This wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. Oh, I hate that I can't read that line without thinking of SpongeBob. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it, enough to easily imagine the horror, if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will lend me your strength. There is no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now, I just need to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow before the act, I will just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. If I left it here, well, that wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance, went over to a construction vehicle parked nearby. We had been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it, in the shadow of the vehicle. Chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none. As tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off. And, for all my classmates had said, they've been left here for years now. Machines that probably haven't moved in years. Can't just suddenly start them up again. That was almost definitely fine in this case. The sunlight was piercingly hot. My head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dulled thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. Gave myself a couple hits in the head, then looked around warily. Okay, next. How to dispose of the corpse. Disposing of the corpse. The ultimate way to not create a beginning was to not let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Oh, right, there's also the swamp, right? Forgot about that. Thinking on it vaguely, first thing that came to mind was a swamp. Onigafuchi, a dreadful bottomless swamp revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi Village. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi Village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless lake. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of demons below the earth. That was how the stories went. I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, and I felt the theory demanded I discard the remains and the weapon into the swamp. But it may have said it's bottomless, but I didn't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. That's why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Rika-chan's mother drowned herself in this swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse too, it was rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. I never heard of a corpse coming back up or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse here too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it'd be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation, but as for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided to not discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they'd actually happened. There were no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and then not coming back up. Then, what would I do with the body? Thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident. Cut him up into pieces and hide him. The preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that out of the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then, where I would bury it. It was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I would want to dig a hole to dump the body in beforehand, and to make the location of the act and the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. Had to be somewhere no one would witness it, and a place with no hiding places for a sneak attack, or a place with hiding places for a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would head to from Satoko's house. I imagined the map of the area in my head, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of back road that went through the woods. I didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Yagouchi on a whim. If it was going somewhere, he'd pass through these woods first. And nobody used this way back unless they had something to do at Satoko's house or one or two other places. His path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went to the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here. There's Satoko's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. Question arose of whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd take by luring him here? That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave. Unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Satoko go to the festival? Satoko would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call the man. It's the Okonomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Can you come and pick her up immediately? Didn't even have to be the police. It's the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yeah, yes. That would work too. If I claimed to be the police or hospital, told him to come and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? Just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satoko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion. If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satoko would go to the festival, leaving the house. It'd be convenient if I could make Mion take Satoko to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Satoko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact and get her there. Satoko should just take a break and have fun with everyone with the festival with everyone. She'd have a good time, reminisce on our former peaceful days. When she went home, everything would be over. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I need to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body, so it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me while I was completely exposed as I buried the corpse. I wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew further away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this
穴を
place.
掘るか。
Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I'd envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into the various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. I wonder how big a hole would have to be to fit a human all the way into it. Probably have to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. A little past 6. It's probably all I was going to get done for today. Oh, I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out. But Mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I needed to go back home and give Mion a call soon. I needed to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. I didn't decide on a time, but I'd play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Would this really go how I planned? After all this, worries started welling up one after another. Only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure. And I had no experience, as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack. Knack 2, baby. Best PlayStation exclusive. It was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. Truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From the outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. I never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face, and he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned, but was the actual murder the most important part? What unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations, if they didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it. After coming this far, you're pathetic, Keiichi Maibara. Start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder, to kill someone. for someone else's sake. That day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild, spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedaled my bicycle hard to get back home. I felt somehow unsteady, like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Maibara. If this will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution, then it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. Oh boy, are we just going in? Are we like I'm real curious. Oh god, I just got a message. We're making some changes to our PayPal legal agreements that might apply to you. That's the scariest thing I've read in this game so far. Oh no, probably not. It was the first time I'd be calling Mion's house. I searched for it in the phone book the school gave me, then dialed a short phone number, kind unique to remote places. It was around dinner time. She'd probably be home. Just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver. If it's Oishi, I'm going to be so mad.
はい、園崎です。
Thank God.
あ、夜分遅くにすみません。ミオンか。
え、どちら様です？
Is that her?
俺だよ、ケイジだ。
ああ、ケイちゃんか。
Okay, I think that's her.
何こんな時間に。
I like you can literally hear her code switch. She seemed to be in a weirdly good mood and she drew her syllables out. Right. It's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with her family having some drinks.
悪いな、こんな時間に。今、時間は大丈夫か？
うん。何？
サトコのことなんだけど。
I heard her drawing a small breath on the other end.
さとこ、大変なことになっちゃったね。大丈夫かな？
The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her voice. You know what? I will say this. They keep trying to remove it in a lot of stuff nowadays, but I really appreciate the fact that these games just do not hide the fact that underage drinking is a thing that happens, and like, you can write it in. In a small town, are you serious? Of course they drink with the family. No duh.
大丈夫なわけないだろう。お前も見ただろ、あれ。
あんな擦り切れるまでにいじめ抜かれて、俺たちはあんなになるまでずっと見捨ててきた。
見捨ててたわけじゃないよ。みんな助けようとして必死に考えてたよ。
でも結局何も思いつかなかったし、サトコを救えたわけじゃないだろう。
Yeah, so you can tell like because the abuse line there probably was toned down in another version, so we're using the most accurate voice line for that one.
結局、あんなになるまで俺たちは何もできなかった。
そうだね。私は結局見てただけかも。
だからさ、せめて一夜くらい遊ばせてやろうじゃないか。
え？遊ばせるって？
あいつもいろいろと参ってるのわかるだろう。だからさ、明日の綿流しのお祭りにあいつを連れて行ってやってほしいんだ。
それは構わないけど、どうして？
どうしてって、せめて祭りの夜くらい息抜きさせてやりたいじゃないか。たとえ一夜でもあの意地悪なおじの元から離れられるなら、短い時間でもきっとサトコは喜ぶ。
He's a good liar.
だからどうして？
してって何がだよ。
I was having a little difficulty understanding what Mion was asking me.
どうして、ケイちゃんが連れて行ってあげないの？
Oh god, she's seeing right through us.
私に頼まなきゃならないの？
Mion was persistent about odd things. No, maybe it was better to say that she was sharp.
俺、実はちょっと明日は用事があってさ、祭りには行けない。だからサトコ、ミオンが連れて行ってやってほしい。
用事って。
大した用事じゃないんだ。多分すぐに片付くと思うけど、ひょっとすると明日は合流できないかもしれない。
Oh, you can sort of hear his lie is starting to become definitely more obvious.
なあ、ミオン、明日の夜だけサトコ頼めないか。
Mion took a long time to give a reply. I got the feeling that Mion had been acting weird for a while now. Like she was flustered by emotions or something.
いや、
Oh. Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? Are you
私、
crying?
嫌だって言ったじゃない。私なんかに押し付けられても困るって。
別に押し付けるつもりなんかないよ。明日の夜だけでいいんだ。
嘘だったじゃない。
What? Mion, what was she talking about?
綿流しの夜だけって言って結局ずっとだった。
This makes me think that Satoshi tried to kill the uncle, and it's the exact same events are repeating again.
嘘つき。でもおあいこかな。私全然あなたとの約束守ってないから。あの子はずっとほったらかしだしね。
Yeah, she's absolutely talking to Satoshi right now. I had no idea what to say to that. Mion was clearly now talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who. Oh, buddy, you're kind of stupid. All I could do was listen to her in a
あれか
daze.
らずっと帰ってこないのに、あの子のことをもう一度押し付けるためだけに、本当にずるい人。ねえ、あなた、サトシ君、なんでしょう。
ミオン、さっきから何の話だ。
When I said her name, whatever spell was on Mion was released.
あ、あ
Was that Mion? What if that wasn't Mion? Right, because it was just trying to think here. Sorry, I literally had to just wrap my brain around stuff for a sec, because it was Shion was the one who was said to be dating him, right? So if we called and it was Shion who picked up, and then us saying Mion's name kind of reminded her, oh, never mind. Okay. Okay. That's what I'm thinking, at least.
ごめん。なんでもないの。ちょっと、ケイちゃんの今の電話にそっくりな電話を昔受けたことがあって。
それ、ひょっとしてサトシか。
Mion didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver.
ごめんね。ちょっと私、寝ぼけてるみたい。変なとこで感情的になっちゃった。ごめんね。焦ったでしょ。
I had no idea how it happened. But I was pretty sure that last year on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion. and told her to bring Satoko to the festival. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way I just did.
サトシ、祭りに行かなかったんだな。
うん。用事があるから自分は行けないって言って、代わりに私にサトコを祭りに連れて行ってくれって。
その時、サトシも言ったんだな。サトコを頼むって。
うん。言ったよ。明日の夜だけ頼むってね。ケイちゃんの言い方があまりにもよく似てたんで。
There's definitely a lot of there's a lot of parallels between Keiichi and Satoshi. And again, I'm still trying to reconcile whether they are thematic or there are actual literal things connecting them.
ちょっと思い出して取り乱しちゃった。
I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. After that, Mion had said more. That he was lying. That he told her it would only be for the night of the
そうだ
festival.
ったな。サトシはその数日後に消えた。
Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning
そ
Satoko.
う。天候でもなく、家出でもなく、消えたの。
And then, an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Satoshi made exactly the same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? If, in the truest sense, he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where the aunt was beaten to death, that's... But I was thinking that. You're right? We thought about this before.
え？何が？
Last year, Satoko had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt too. Her aunt abused her the most, and on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. I thought about that. Everything made perfect sense, didn't it?
サトコのおばが殴り殺されたじゃないか。あれ、サトシってことは考えられないか。
No, but that would mean... Then, Satoshi, he was a coward who abandoned Satoko and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Satoko? It was unthinkable.
私も実はそれを疑ったことがある。サトシには悪いけど。
A few days later, he disappeared. On Satoko's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely. Satoshi had probably been even less calm than I was now. It was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister be abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. And that was why the corpse of their aunt, beaten to death, was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in his anger and hadn't hid the corpse. He permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi. He wished to return to peaceful days with Satoko. And though he achieved it for a time, he had been steadily driven into a corner. And then, he wanted to at least hold out until Satoko's birthday. But finally, they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he'd amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He'd buy the stuffed animal as her gift, and then get caught. Or he could use the money and disappear. That was a choice he had been forced to make. And he decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. That was the case. It must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved, wanting to see Satoko happy. He had to use it to make her sad. And he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo if the rumors were true.
サトシはそれで消えたのか。
それは わからない。大石なんかはそう思ってるみたいだけどね。
Oishi had been slowly driven into a corner by the repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit.
確かに状況証拠は揃ってるけど、多分ケイちゃんの推理は外れだと思う。県内のどっかで捕まったろくでなしが犯行を自供したって言うし。
That was right. The demon had confessed and the incident was solved.
そいつは本当にただの異常者で、ひなみ沢とは何の縁もない男だったって。もちろんサトシとも何の関係もない。だからそんな奴がサトシの身代わりになって嘘をついてくれたなんて。
What if he paid him off? Or something. Also, yeah, you couldn't just arbitrarily decide like that. You never know where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it really was a perfect crime, there would have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish.
それに、サトシには逃亡資金なんてなかったと思う。サトシが預金を下ろした日、これは誰に言っても信じてくれないんだけど、サトコのために買うと言ってたぬいぐるみが、売れてショーケースからなくなってたの。
He meant to buy it for her.
きっと、サトシが買ったに違いない。
Maybe he did, and they actually they got him while he was carrying it or something.
ちょっと待てよ。逃走資金に使わないで、ぬいぐるみを買うために使ったなら、サトコのところへ帰るはずだろ。ぬいぐるみを買って、それを届けもせずに蒸発するなんて考えられない。
うん。だから、わからなくなっちゃうんだよ。まとまったお金があるならともかく、貯金を全部使っちゃったなら、サトシは無一文。お金もなく逃亡生活ができるほど、世の中は甘くないよ。
I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I couldn't remember how we even got on this topic.
ごめん。どこで話が脱線しちゃったんだか。サトコの件ね。安心していいよ。実はもうちゃんと誘ってあるんだよ。
え？本当かよ。
祭りの準備でみんなで神社に行った時さ、サトコを祭りに呼ぼうって話になったんだよ。それで集会所の電話でそのまま電話して誘ったんだ。おじのやつよそよそしくて勝手にしろみたいな感じだったけど、とりあえず OK はしてくれた。明日みんなで待ち合わせしていくことになってるんだよ。安心した？サトシ。
Don't call me that.
バカ。俺はサトシじゃないって。
I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Satoko had already been invited to the festival. And not in a way that smelled of blood. A way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same, but I was happy for the slight difference.
すまないな。俺が電話をするまでもなかった。昨日にしろ今日にしろ。変な話ばかりしてすまないな。忘れてくれ。
こっちこそ本当に申し訳ない。柄にもなく取り乱しちゃって本当にごめん。
We apologized to each other for a little bit.
じゃあ俺はこれで失礼するな。おやすみ。
何の用事？
As if interrupting our parting words, Leon struck me straight where it hurt.
それもまたサトシと同じように言えない？
Just say, like, my family needs to go get family pictures done or something. Just lie. You've been lying all this time, buddy. Just lie.
バカ。だから俺はサトシじゃないって言ってるだろ。
うん。そんなのは分かってるよ。
I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that.
じゃあ今度こそおやすみな。
どうしてケイちゃんがサトシ君と全く同じ電話をしてきたのかわからないけれど、なんでもない。
Huh.
ごめんね。おやすみ。
切るぞ。
Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorned you as a coward who ran away abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now, I didn't know what to think. Yashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, her aunt's death, and Satoshi's disappearance. And now, me, trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi the day before the curse. No, that wasn't all. If we start back with from Satoko being abused, then I've been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. Then as Satoshi had accomplished, I would succeed in the murder. But that was to the extent which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi, and more calculating. I could actually grow calmer, the more enthusiastic I became. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him cleanly out of the world and get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi has been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No, maybe even longer than that. When I decided I'd be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been residing within me too then. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini even now? A kind worthy of Satoko's love. I'd never met him, never spoken to him, didn't even know his face, yet I felt so connected to him. I never felt that way before. Well, it's not, I mean, if this is the end of the chapter, which I assume it is, it's so far not been as heavy as the last one for obvious reasons, but it is definitely doing setup. Only one note on the housewife murder case. This might be interesting. Might be some good information. Possessed. Made your choice without looking back. Oh boy. All right, well, one sec. Let me get ready for this. There we go. All right, I gotta put my bat away. One sec, I forgot. A police officer would never use so evil a weapon. Never. Ever. All right, let's see here. For the attention of those on the housewife slaughter incident case. July blank, 1982. Okonomiya Police Station, 1st Investigative Division. Chief Takasugi. Blank Prefecture Police Headquarters for the eradication of drug-related crime. We talking like drugs are part of this now? Shishibone Branch Head, blank blank. Regarding incident blank designed as an undercover investigation. What? Message informed me that a section of the testimony records, testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found. That is thought to be related to an undercover investigation of the incident in question, Okonomi Police Station X, Hinamizawa Village. Okay. During investigation of suspect blank, who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was testimony alluded to in the crime in question, but it became clear that it contained information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we're prepared to share this record of the testimony with you, duplicate attached. This testimony is to be believed, and there's an extremely high chance that suspect blank was the perpetrator of the incident in question. In addition, on the receiving end, this testimony, the head investigator on the case inquired as to the incident with the Okonomi Police Station, but the responsible party misunderstood and in compliance with the designation as an undercover investigation by executive. Oh my god, these are just words! Designation as an undercover investigation by executive order from Prefecture Police Headquarters on July 1st. B112, I think we heard that before. They did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of this testimony as related to the case in question, and as a result was negligent when combing the scene. We apologize for having effectively ignored it until now. In addition, there is a postscript stating that suspect blank died while in confinement yesterday. So, okay, what? Oh, okay, okay. I think what this is saying is, so there was a drug-related bust. Okay. So there was a suspect they brought in who was arrested for the possession of illegal drugs. Right? And during the testimony, he slipped up and said something that made us think that it was the perpetrator in question. Now, there are two potential things this could be. One, this could be Satoshi was caught for drugs while he was out for the teddy bear, right? He got the teddy bear, they got him for drugs, they pulled him in for questioning, and boom, they said, by the way, actually, we're taking you in because of you said something about the murder case. That could be the one. The other, is this the weird guy that they originally arrested? That they mistakenly arrested. So they arrested a guy who was just on drug charges. And then now they're saying, oh yeah, by the way, he said something weird and, that makes us think that he also did the other crime? I don't know. Either way, that suspect is dead. Interesting, but not a huge revelation, All right, well, moving on to chapter 10 next time, as Watanagashi is here for real. So, I will see you guys next time for some more Let's Read Higurashi as we move on to chapter 10. Bye. Yo.